Okay, good evening, everybody. We're going to call the December meeting of the Brandywine School District Board of Education to order. We're in the auditorium at Brandywine High School. I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Skrbat, Mr. Najemi, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'd like to invite up Mrs. Reggio to welcome us to Brandywine High School.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Lawson, colleagues, families, and community members. I am Rebecca Reggio, the principal of Brandywine High School, and I'm happy to welcome you back to our school, which we affectionately call the place to be. It is truly an honor to represent Brandywine High School. When I came to this district and school 4 years ago, I quickly learned how Brandywine is a school community rooted in pride, purpose, and possibility. And I am incredibly proud of what our students, staff, and families have accomplished together these years. Over the past several years, Brandywine High School has been recognized at both the state and national levels. For 2 consecutive years, Brandywine High School has been ranked among the top 10 high schools in Delaware by U.S. News and World Report, and recognized as one of the top comprehensive public high schools in the state. Also, for 2 consecutive years, Brandywine High School engineering students earned national recognition by winning the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition, highlighting our students' creativity, innovation, and commitment to real-world problem solving. Additionally, we are proud to have had 2 State Teachers of the Year and 2 additional District Teachers of the Year, a testament to the extraordinary educators who serve our students every day. Just as importantly, our progress is reflected in meaningful outcomes for students. Over the past 4 years, we have steadily decreased our 9th grade retention rate, ensuring more students are successfully transitioning. We have expanded access and increased diversity in our honors and AP courses, strengthening equity and opportunity. Most significantly, students are telling us they feel it: a stronger sense of belonging, a more positive climate, and a school culture where students feel seen, supported, and valued. On a personal note, I am deeply thankful for the past 4 years at Brandywine High School. It is incredibly meaningful to be part of a school and a community that leads with pride, embraces diversity, and believes in every student's potential. After 30 years in public education in this state, I believe what you have here is rare and needs to be nurtured and fought for. Thank you for being here tonight and for your continued commitment to our students, our staff, and the Brandywine community.
Thank you, Mrs. Reggio. That's going to bring us to our student reporters. We're going to start with Mount Pleasant High School. Kamani Beadle and Stephen Rice, who I understand are joining us via Zoom.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At Mount Pleasant, we'd like to welcome you to another amazing month of school. My name is Kamani Beadle, Mount Pleasant Student Council President.
And I'm Stephen Rice. I'm Mount Pleasant Student Council Vice President.
We are both so excited to be here with you today. Each month is small in comparison to the others. Mount treats it just the same by putting in the same amount of work as the others. We started this month by adding a new fun and educational activity called Study Buddies. Study Buddies is an after-school program created by our National Honor Society program. The program was created to help students who need more assistance with their work and also to bring a sense of community and helping each other in a fun educational way, aka the Mount Way.
And with fall sports wrapping up and winter sports starting, we just want to say good luck to all our winter athletes. Our music program has also been booked and busy this month, with our chorale having a performance last week at the Governor's Mansion and this week before they performed at Rockwood. And tonight we have our winter concert. So let's just say our music department is spreading the holiday cheer.
Speaking of holiday cheer, our Black Student Union had its annual Kwanzaa celebration. The celebration was filled with fun, food, music, and we got to learn all about the principles of Kwanzaa. And also, I would like to give a big thank you to Mount's counseling team. Our counseling team has recently won the Sapphire Award. They have won this award because they helped so many kids in our building, from fixing schedules to listening to our personal problems and giving helpful feedback. They truly are one of a kind.
Our Blue Gold program have started Mount's first Toys for Tots. Toys for Tots is an event that Blue Gold has started where people bring in toys for the less fortunate. In return, you get a nice candy salad, which I think is a pretty good deal. You get to feel sweet and get something sweet.
And to end off our week, Mount has their first ever Twas the Week Before break. This includes festive activities such as Winter Wonderland, Flannel Day, Holidays in Harmony, New Year's Eve, and last but not least, a long winter's nap. This is a great way to end off our week before heading into winter break. That's the end of our report. We wish you all a wonderful and warm night. And as always, we are Mount. Any questions from the board?
Them, and I spoke to the students in the audience today. I wasn't going to quiz them either, but Kameni and Stephen, I was curious. What year are you guys, seniors or juniors?
We're seniors.
All right. What have you guys started planning for post high school?
Yes, I've been accepted to college already, and I will be heading there soon. Well, next year.
Which college?
I'll be heading to York College to pursue a major in theater.
Wonderful.
And I am applying to multiple colleges at the moment for music education.
That's fantastic too. That's really great. Thank you both. I did note, and I wanted to say one thing because I think we only have one other board meeting before the Mount Pleasant High School One Act Festival takes place January 16th and 17th. Are either one of you guys doing that?
We're actually both in it. I'm a lead in one of mine, and I'm pretty sure Steven is too. So we're really excited for that. And our spring musical list just dropped today also. So we're
Come
pretty
see
happy.
Mamma Mia.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kamani and Stephen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to Brandywine High School. I think only Logan.
Scott, Brandywine High School Student Council President, and I am excited to welcome you all here today. Many amazing things have been going on at Brandywine lately. We held our winter vocal and instrumental concerts where students in choir, band, and orchestra classes were able to show their musical talents and hard work from the past few months. In addition, we had 8 of our choir students make all-state choirs, with senior Cole Barnyak ranking first base 2 in the state for the 2nd year in a row. Additionally, our marching band participated in the Newcastle County Marching Band Festival, and there they received an outstanding rating for their show. In our College and Career Center, we held a Delaware State University Direct Admissions Day, where many students applied and received acceptances to the school. Our cross-country team ran at the Reindeer Run, where they were able to raise an amazing $905 for the Special Olympics. In addition, our class of 2027 recently held a very successful Chick-fil-A fundraiser to raise funds for prom. This week at Brandywine Before Break, we have many fun things going on. Our Holiday Spirit Week is happening, where students are able to dress up as holiday characters, wear pajamas and ugly Christmas sweaters to school, and dress in many other fun themes. In addition, at the end of the week, we are hosting our Bulldog Den incentive. Students with perfect attendance throughout the month of December are able to play games, watch holiday movies, and celebrate the festive season. Looking ahead, our Alumni Fair is coming up, where previous students are able to come back and discuss the path they took with current students. In January, our incredible dance students will be hosting their winter dance show. We will also be hosting our Honor Society induction ceremony next month. That is all for this month. Thank you, everyone. Go Bulldogs. Any questions from the board?
Logan, what year are you in high school?
I'm a junior.
So have you started thinking about post-high school?
Yes,
And-
I'm planning on going to college and majoring in biology or chemistry.
Okay. When do applications, When are they due for college?
Not until next year, obviously, probably.
Okay, very
I
good.
don't-
All right, thank you.
Probably next November or so.
Sounds good, thanks.
Thank you, Logan. That brings us to Concord. I see three. I think I only have two names, though, Michaela Michelson and Molly Andrews. Are you just observing?
Good evening, everyone. I am President Michaela Michelson.
And I am Vice President Molly Andrews of Student Council here at Concord High School, and we are so excited to bring you up to speed on the amazing things that have happened at Concord High School over the last month. As always, Concord High School has been up to nothing but fabulous things. Last month, we highlighted Concord's up-and-coming production of Romeo and Juliet, and let's just say it was a tremendous success. We are incredibly proud of our student actors and actresses as we look forward to our spring production of Be More Chill. With countless hours of dedication that our students pour into every single show, we know it'll be outstanding. Our theater department isn't the only group staying busy. Our National Honor Society has also been working diligently. A few weeks ago, NHS filled stockings for soldiers, stuffing them with goodies and Raider pride to send to soldiers overseas this holiday season. They are also spreading cheer to children at AI Children's Hospital by organizing a holiday toy drive to bring holly jolly joy to young patients. Keeping up with the holiday spirit, Concord hosted its annual Santa Breakfast presented by Concord High School's football team, along with a vendor fair in the gymnasium. We're thrilled to share that both events were a tremendous success. And of course, no board meeting update is complete without sports news. Our winter sports are in full swing and we couldn't be prouder. Boys basketball has started off 3-1, while our girls basketball is 3-0, including a major victory over rival Mount Pleasant 49-15. Our girls and boys swim team is also undefeated at 3-0, and although our boys wrestling team is 0-1, it was a tight loss, and we know that they'll do better for the rest of the season. We are so proud of the entire Raider community.
On top of all the exciting sports news, our Interact Club successfully collected, do you mind changing the slide? Sorry, thank you. Successfully collected 709 pounds of food for the Claymont Food Pantry. In other food-related wins, Concord dominated the BSD Mountain Concord Chick-fil-A fundraising competition, bringing in a whopping $707,000 in sales, earning a substantial contribution towards the class of 2026 prom, as well as an epic chicken nugget competition trophy. In the world of music, our talented band performed with BSD's mass band at the Claymont Christmas Parade, and our band and orchestra delivered a wonderful winter instrumental concert. In the world of academics, our engineering students received an awesome new SEND grant from the Toshiba American Foundation to support their incredible partnership with Forward Elementary, building physical education devices for children with disabilities. Next week, as we head into our winter break, we'll wrap things up with 2 fun spirit days, a pajama day on Thursday and a festive ugly sweater day on Friday. That concludes Concord High School's December board report. Are there any questions for the board?
Thank you.
I have a couple. How much was raised with the Chick-fil-A fundraiser?
She misspoke a little.
Okay.
No, we did. We raised 707
7,700 in sales.
I thought that was a lot of money.
That's a lot of chicken.
I was going to say we'd have one heck of a prom.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys including the sports updates, but same questions to the two of you. What grade are you in, and have you started thinking about what you're going to do after high school?
So I'm a senior this year, and I have applied to a bunch of schools. I've heard back from 3 so far, and I applied for nursing.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm a senior as well, and I applied to many schools. My top choices right now are Clemson, and I'm waiting to hear back from UGA, and I plan to major in psychology on the pre-med track.
All right, and you guys will keep us updated as those letters come in. Great. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before you go, I have a question too. It's not just Mr. Jordan. I did want to thank Concord High School for doing a fundraiser in Claymont. There was a fundraiser at Wildwood, the smash burger place on Philadelphia Pike, and I did buy food that night. I don't know how much you raised from that, but I hope it went to a good cause.
Yeah, that was for our football team, I think. Yeah.
Thank
you for
you.
supporting.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to district news and updates with Dr. Lawson.
Good evening and welcome winter to Board President Heller, Vice President Scrobot, members of the board, and our audience and community. 1 year ago this month, we began to focus within the superintendent's report on student outcomes data. We are doubling down on that commitment this year, but attempting to dig a bit deeper into the various topic areas that we have presented to you previously. As the board is aware, you've seen this slide before, last year was the first year our Brandywine Attendance Initiative, focusing on improving elementary attendance, launched. Across our 9 elementary schools, we increased on-track attendance by 3 percentage points overall and had exceptional gains of 5 or more percentage points at 3 elementary schools, Lancashire, Lombardy, and Maple Lane. We believe one of the key drivers in the improvement at Lombardy and Maple Lane was the hiring of a shared social worker who has a laser focus on attendance and worked directly with families to increase access to instructional time in school. Let's dig a little deeper into why and how we came to use on-track attendance data rather than average daily attendance, which has been used at the state and in other districts for years and is still being used in other districts throughout Delaware. Average daily attendance describes the percentage of students present in the building on any one day, while on-track attendance captures what portion of students are present for at least 90% of the school year. Because we are more interested in students than in buildings, on-track attendance is a much better risk indicator. Further, it is more powerful and useful metric than the average daily attendance. As you can see from the data here, even at the peak of COVID, average daily attendance never fell below 91%, while on-track attendance fell to an all-time low of 74% in BSD. If we continued using only average daily attendance data, it would have obscured the real attendance impact of the pandemic. Did you know that attendance is part of the state's accountability report card that's called the Delaware Student Success Framework, or DSSF? It contributes 10% to a school and district's overall score. The good news is that in school year 25, we recovered to our school year 18 on-track attendance level, with 86% of our students earning on-track status. That bears repeating. We've just this year recovered and reached on-track attendance percentages to what was in existence in school year 18 without the initiatives and supports we are providing now. As we work to improve Brandywine's on-track attendance rates in partnership with families and the larger community, our goal is to reduce the number of students at academic risk due to missed instructional time, which is just one variable in the story of academic achievement and outcome shifts we've witnessed throughout the years. There will be more to come in 2026 related to other variables that have affected our overall scores reported by the state. So now, in year 2 of our attendance initiative, we are expanding the work to our secondary schools with a focus on middle schools this year. This year's data is baseline, and we launched our initiative similarly to elementary schools. From the data, we can see clearly that on-track attendance falls sharply in high school. As has been stated before, but also bears repeating, research highly correlates on-track attendance to high school graduation. So now introducing our new homegrown MTSS attendance tool. A key part of our initiative this year is empowering our school leadership teams to access attendance data on demand through a multi-tiered systems of support lens. This allows them to identify students whose attendance patterns indicate potential academic risk. It also supports our social workers and family advocates in their work. Despite on-track attendance being a state accountability metric, before this year, school leaders and teams only had access to average daily attendance reports. At the end of October this year, all Brandywine MTSS Tier 1 school leaders were trained to use a data template, which was developed in our district by our very own Hope Moffitt, Supervisor of Accountability and Assessment. It mirrors the other MTSS triangle reports available to them in DSC. Not only does this report summarize current on-track attendance at the school and grade level, but it also identifies which specific students need attendance interventions. By empowering our schools with data that they can easily analyze and act upon, we hope to propel our on-track attendance to even greater heights. The Delaware Department of Education recently recognized Forwood Elementary School for the noteworthy progress it has made over the past 2 years on the report card, DSSF, the Delaware Student Success Framework, previously mentioned in the last slides. The DSSF provides a holistic picture of student learning and well-being, looking beyond proficiency scores to include key indicators such as academic growth, attendance, college and career readiness, and progress toward English language proficiency. These measures offer a more complete understanding of how students are learning, growing, and thriving as whole children. Delaware Secretary of Education Cindy Martin congratulated Forwood Elementary Principal Diana Golden, noting that, quote, student success is never just one number. It's steady, consistent progress across multiple measures, and that's exactly what Forwood Elementary has demonstrated, unquote. We are incredibly proud of Forwood Elementary School staff whose dedication, expertise, and belief in their students made this progress possible. Brandywine School District is celebrating an exceptional year for vocal music, with 49 students earning placements in the 2025 All-State Choirs. This marks one of the district's strongest showings in recent years and secures Brandywine as the second highest ranking district for total successful auditions. Our visual and performing arts continue to thrive in BSD. And finally, as we approach the end of 2025, I want to extend my warmest wishes to everyone in the Brandywine School District community. Thank you for your continued support, resilience, and commitment to our district. It is an honor to serve a community that works so hard to ensure every child is embraced, inspired, and challenged every day. So on behalf of our district leadership team, we wish you a happy, healthy, and peaceful holiday season and bright new year. And I look forward to all that we will accomplish in 2026. But we couldn't leave the year 2025 without a sizzle by Nick.
I chose BSD because there are so many amazing opportunities in this school district. There's the pathways that give students opportunities to explore career options. For me, I'm in the biomedical pathway.
I chose BSD because of the flexible pathways that helped me further my career into nursing and get accepted into college.
There's a lot of diversity here first, and there's a lot of opportunities for what you want. You want to be an engineer, we've got something for that. You want to be a nurse, a doctor, we've got something for that. Artist, like whatever you want to do in life, BSD is going to prepare you for that.
I choose BSD because of the sports and how much of an active community we are. I love how interconnected all the schools are, and I have friends in each of the different high schools.
I choose BSD because of the teachers and the staff and all the coaches, because they all help me become a better person and better athlete.
I choose BSD because I love the band program and the teachers and playing my instrument.
So I'm very involved in the school. I'm in student council, I'm in marching band, student voice advisory. It really is just an amazing school district that has so many opportunities for everyone, I think.
When I was starting to move into Delaware, I saw that BSD had a great sense of community. I like the family aspect of it all, so that's why I chose BSD.
I choose BSD because I feel like the community is really great and all of the students and teachers care about each other.
I chose BSD because this is the only place where I feel at home. The teachers always go out of their way to help us. They will do anything to make sure that you succeed.
I choose BSD because everyone truly accepts each other, so I think it's great.
When I came in from India, I remember feeling nervous, but when I joined BSD, they greeted me with open arms. From there, I learned what it means to be a true friend, a true scholar, and a true student overall.
I choose BSD because everybody chooses to be a leader in their own way.
President Heller, this concludes my monthly report.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson. Any questions or comments?
Hello. Yeah, quick question. In terms of the attendance, do we have any ability to look deeper into it and see maybe some of the reasons for people's absences? I'm thinking specifically issues with housing, issues with illness, and if there are reasons why this is going on that may be out of the BSD control or that may be able to be addressed with like wraparound services that the BSD maybe doesn't have itself, but knows people and entities that can acquire them. So.
Thank you. I would say that the hiring of the social worker was really intended to work with families. I agree with you that some things are outside of school control, which is why we do need parents and families to partner with us and the larger community. It does take a village sometimes, but I believe that the reason Lombardi and Maple Lane saw a decrease in chronic absenteeism and an increase in on-track attendance was this social worker's efforts. So often it does take additional supports.
Any other questions? That brings us to public comment. It appears that there's no in-person or online public comments. That brings us to board business, starting with Mr. Ackerman, DSBA Executive Committee.
The Executive Board has not met since our last meeting. We'll meet again in January.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Lavoie, DSBA Legislative.
That committee won't meet again until February.
Mr. Skrbat, District Finance Committee.
District Finance Committee met this past Wednesday, December 10th. We introduced our 2 new community members who were approved at last month's regular board meeting here. We reviewed the final budget approval in January, or we looked at the upcoming budget approval that will come forward in January. We discussed the November monthly financial report that Mr. McCoy will review shortly. Talked a little bit about the Wilmington Learning Collaborative spending and their dashboard. I know that's might be some questions there for Mr. McCoy. And kind of filled in the members that did not attend the December 8th board workshop, just some of the financial questions that had come out of the Reading Consortium discussion and the information that had been, I don't know if the information had been released at that point on the air report for the financials, but we had talked about the gist of the meeting. Our next meeting will be January 7th at 5 p.m. at the Mount Pleasant conference room.
Great, thank you. Health and Wellness Advisory is me. We met on November 20th, 2025. It was a very long meeting, so just some highlights. We had a special presentation by Danielle Medina, who's the Executive Director of Fit and Play. And she was talking about the implementation of cooking skills and movement classes through a program called Food for Life that she's been starting in other districts, especially at the younger levels. And then she discussed the benefits of having health fairs within the schools periodically as well. We're going to be working with her a little bit more in the future. We had a pretty long discussion on House Bill 71, which was a new law signed this year and in effect immediately that requires, the big change is the requirement that every school building has publicly accessible and clearly marked AEDs at all sports venues at all times, including outdoor sports. And in addition, that each building has a building-specific cardiac arrest response plan for the building. The law went into effect immediately upon being signed in September. So of course, then immediately everyone was not compliant with that rule. So our discussion was on how we're going to get compliant, and we're going to continue to work towards that. Of course, there was no financial note included with the bill, even though it's a very expensive proposition to meet the requirements of it. Then we talked about Delaware Senate Bill 160, which was school districts' responsibility for diabetes education. And we are working on that. The Lions Club has resources actually about the diabetes education that we believe meets the requirement. So the committee is working on that to meet that requirement as well. The wellness policy, we discussed that again. It hasn't been updated in many, many years. There is a subcommittee that I'm on that is working on revisions for that now. We have our next meeting in January to continue updating that policy to meet the current situation and things that are happening in schools. There's a long discussion on AI and mental health. The health counselors had a meeting and a presentation that they said was, quote, very eye-opening about how AI is contributing to mental health in students, and that AI's algorithm doesn't necessarily discourage them from poor choices, but sometimes actually encourages them to make poor choices based on the questions that they ask it. So there's a lot of research and activity around that. There was a minor update on the school-based health centers. I think we already talked in this meeting about the athletic trainer updates, that this year our trainers are BSD employees instead of a third-party vendor. And then there was a DIA update regarding weight and urine testing that's required before wrestling events. So the district did have to buy a certified scale and the equipment to do the urine checks before events, and they have started using that already. Our next meeting is January 15th. Mr. Najemi, oh, and the Ms. Harris is going to put a copy of the full minutes, because they're very long, into Friday's board packet so the board can read them. Then Mr. Najemi, Maintenance Advisory.
We met on December 2nd. Oh, wait, no, a little bit more. We actually got a very lovely tour of Harlan Elementary. Mr. Reed was able to give us a kind of a review of the work that had been done in the hallways and cafeterias there. Very beautiful building, and if you ever have a chance to take a look at it and take a tour through it, I would very much advise in favor of it. It's a beautiful place. We were also able to discuss with Mr. Reed several progress that has been made with in terms of many projects, including the HVAC system for the Mount Pleasant Elementary Library. And we were also able to discuss some of the land transfer progress being made with regards to the Bush School. And finally, we had a brief discussion regarding capacity and future needs of improvements with regards to the Reading Consortium decisions and potential changes that would incur. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan, Parent Council for Students with Disabilities.
We have not met since my last update to the board. Our next meeting is January 26, 2026, at Mount Pleasant Elementary, 5:30 to 6:30. There will be light refreshments, transportation, and childcare available for parents who wish to show up.
Thank you. Ms. Stock, Parent and Citizens Advisory Committee.
Our next meeting is going to be Thursday, January 29th at Mount Pleasant Elementary at 5:30. So we have not met since our last meeting.
Thank you. And back to Mr. Najemi for the Wilmington Learning Collaborative.
We had a meeting on, check this out, yeah, December 3rd. We approved the minutes for the meetings for the November 5th meeting. We also had discussed partnership updates with regards to the hiring of a director of professional learning, out of school time, and most importantly, we approved an evaluation tool for the executive director of the WLC for both the current evaluation, but also future evaluations as well. So, and our next meeting will be, I believe, January 7th.
Okay, I have two questions. One, do you know the number of employees that are on the team, the WLC team at this point?
I would say about half a dozen, roughly. Director, yeah, roughly half a dozen, a little bit more.
And I don't suppose, do you know what the current annual budget is? I wouldn't expect.
I do not know what the current annual budget is. I'd be guessing right now. I can find it out for you. Yeah, I can get those numbers for you from them.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Najemi, who is the current executive director?
Dr. Laura Burgos.
Say that again.
Dr. Laura Burgos.
Thank you.
She has been in charge for since the beginning for, I would say, almost 3 years at this point. And she is the executive director of that organization.
Thank you. And Mr. Lavoie, 91.7 WMPH.
There hasn't been a meeting of the advisory board since my last report, but something new has come up that I mentioned, I think, hintingly before. Paul Wishengrad, who's the station manager and longtime CTE teacher there at Mount Pleasant, has finally announced his retirement in July of 2026. So we're currently looking for someone to replace him, or some 6 people to replace him for all he does. Someone with radio experience or someone with teaching experience. Either way, we can help onboard that person. And again, a reminder, remember to tune in to Super 91.7 FM at home or in your car, or by streaming WMPH.net for a robust menu of student-generated news, interviews, sports coverage, and a broad spectrum of musical favorites.
Thank you. Are there any additional board member reports? That brings us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Lavoie and Mr. Scorbat, all in favor?
Aye.
And motion carries. That brings us to student matters. Is there a motion to approve the student matters discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ackerman and Mr. Najemi, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Motion carries. 8A, personnel matters. Is there a motion to accept the monthly personnel report as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Mr. Scorbat, is there a second? Mr. Lavoie, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. 8B, is there a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation on employee matter 26-003 as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Mr. Ackerman?
Second.
Second, Mr. Scorbat, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Brings us to 9A, which is a discussion on Ready Consortium and the direction. The purpose of this item was coming out of the December 8th presentation. We now know that Dr. Lawson has to vote to represent the board and the district tomorrow night on the model that moves forward. So I'm sure she would appreciate some direction from the board on how she should be representing.
I want to just take a moment to thank Dr. Lawson for providing the comments from our educators. I read the entire 20 pages. I thought it was very enlightening. We definitely have a great group of teachers in this district. They're very well thought out. They asked good questions. I would just recommend that our superintendent is really not in a position to pick one of these plans for a number of reasons. It's a conflict of interest. As far as I'm concerned, it's a conflict of interest to have anybody associated with a charter on this consortium, or even the VOTEC schools, because they're not impacted other than potentially getting more kids fleeing our system because of potential impacts to our system. So my recommendation would be recusal, and because, superintendent works for us, the board, and I don't think this board has had a vote. I think we've asked a lot of questions. I think people know where I stand on the issue, so I'm not going to bring that back up again. I think there's no creative problem solving going on, just another reshuffling of a deck. So thank you to our educators for taking the time to provide feedback. I did read your feedback, and I do appreciate your feedback, and I agree with most of what everybody has said.
Any other thoughts?
I guess I'm on the fence between a recusal, typically not in favor of abstentions or recusals unless there's, some sort of obvious conflict of interest, or if you're asked to vote on something that, maybe you're not privy to information on. To me, I think my recommendation would be for a no vote, but I'd be fine with an abstention or recusal as Dr. Lawson sees fit. I just, I expressed this last week. I just really have been disappointed with the process of the Reading Consortium, the way it's dragged on for a number of years. I tried to raise the point that, they had information back in 2016 coming out of WEAC, and they're saying they, built upon that. But I feel like we're at the same decision point that they had in front of them in 2015. I think it's disingenuous for members of the consortium to sit before our community after being involved in this for 5+ years to say they haven't decided on what they think is the best plan, or undecided on how they're going to vote. I think if that's truly the case, what have you been doing for the last 5 years? To me, it's an obvious answer. If the consortium, or at least the leaders of the consortium, have raised objections to the disjointed governance that oversees the city, then to me, there's only one solution for one school district. And it's not Brandywine, because we don't have the capacity to serve those students. I think Red Clay has ample capacity. You look at certainly at their high school level, questions surrounding around transportation, and I'm repeating myself from Monday, but I think anyone in education agrees that students from Christina should not be shuttled down to Glasgow and Newark. I don't know that a commute to Concord High School is any better. And again, to me, it comes back to capacity and financials. Reading's been under operation for a number of years. They sat before our community and had zero answers for the financial implications. And then all of a sudden, Thursday of last week, days before the big vote is to happen for a plan, they produce the air cost analysis report. Certainly that wasn't thrown together between Monday and Thursday of last week. That had been worked on for some time. And it was not favorable for the plans that are presented before us. So, I think this has been bungled from the beginning. I think there's a clear answer of, how we can improve the outcomes for students in education in general, beyond the city of Wilmington. But if there's a specific focus on the city of Wilmington, then I think all of their questions can be answered with a plan. And I don't think it's any of the plans that are before the consortium tomorrow night. So I would, leave it to Dr. Lawson's discretion for a no vote or an abstention or a recusal, however she wants to word it.
I'd like to say a few words about that as well, because I think I would also be in favor of a no vote or abstention, but I think that it's even more compelling, because I don't think that anything that is, I think this is the cart before the horse yet again. This is not a matter of what are you voting for. You're not voting for a plan, yes or no. You're voting for an idea of a plan that might eventually be brought forward. So if you vote yes in favor of any of these plans, and then 6 months later, the Reading Consortium comes up with a plan so onerous that it is just completely hated by everybody, does the fact that you voted 6 months earlier for this to begin somehow mean that you're endorsing it then? It doesn't make sense. The fact that there's not a plan being put forward to actually integrate students from one school district into another or into something else or something new is the problem. So, I would absolutely vote abstain or vote no, not just because of the financials that were produced, which were problematic, not just because of what we've seen, but because of what we haven't seen and they've had years to be able to try to produce, and yet they still haven't produced it, and yet we're supposed to vote on this, and then will there ever be another vote on another plan? Will it ever be as publicized as this current one is? I don't know. We just have to hope. They didn't even give us a time frame for when a plan would actually be created. So I'm not, and I've said this to other people in my life, I'm not for this plan. I'm not against this plan. There is no plan. And if there is no plan, why should our representative have to vote in this process for something that doesn't even exist? It's unfortunate. It should be done differently, but it is what it is. And right now, that would be my 2 cents. Dr. Lawson, with your discretion, we trust you on that.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts to what Mr. Najemi had just mentioned, and at that board workshop, I had used the word disappointment to describe my feelings towards the presentation that the Reading Consortium delivered that night. We got to these 3 plans not because one is better than the other, but just because they had gotten voted for by more members of the Reading Consortium. And when they showed up, they had these 3 plans that were up there, but there were no details about what made one plan better than the other than their size, which was plain for everyone to see. And that's where my holdup is. I have not heard anything since the meeting either from anyone with the Reading Consortium explaining how one option is better than the other to deal with what they refer to as the problem with outcomes that they believe is caused by a fractured education system in the city of Wilmington. It's one thing to make these statements, it's another to back them up. And as I said, I haven't seen anything backing it up. I also haven't heard anything from the Reading Consortium how any one of these new plans will be least disruptive to the students. And for me in particular, that includes how any of these 3 options will make sure that we are not resegregating public schools in the state of Delaware. It's unclear to me what effect either of these plans will have on our teachers and staff and returning agency to our teachers in the classroom. So that can really affect and achieve better results than anything that the Reading Consortium has presented, to my knowledge. Or how any of these are the least disruptive to those of our students with special education needs. I mean, if the idea is, well, we're going to have a united or a consolidated Newcastle County district, it's bigger, and therefore it's better, I don't buy that. If the idea is, well, if we consolidate, we can eliminate administration, and I recall, and I appreciate Mr. Denn's comment that Delaware has some of the best laws on the books when it comes to special education, but if we don't have the administrators enrolled to enforce those laws, to carry them out, then they're meaningless. I mean, we see that at the federal level with the reductions in force of the Department of Education. And what I come back to what I have not heard, how any one of these plans will actually help solve a problem as opposed to creating a new one or making an issue worse. And so with that in mind, Dr. Lawson, I mean, it's tough to tell you, abstain from the vote because you are our voice there and you are representing our community there. I don't know how you can vote otherwise, though, because you have not been given any information, the information that you would need to make an informed vote. It would be a guesswork. If I had to rank these 3, the consolidated district is my 3rd, as in least preferable. The only one I could possibly support would be the one that maintains Brandywine's individuality. And again, as I mentioned at the meeting we had, the district's worked hard for that reputation. It's worked hard. And nonetheless, I would support, trying to think of it, an abstention or a no vote. Probably an abstention would be the appropriate course of action. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yes, I just want to add my voice. I agree with most of what my colleagues have said. But even in their initial report from the Reading Commission, they acknowledge that there are social drivers that account for poor performance, poor academic performance, that have little to do with necessarily what school district you're assigned to. They have a lot to do with where you live. And I would, with all due respect, request that you suggest forestalling a selection for another year when we can get together and gather some current and compelling information about what tactics have worked, not just in schools, but in societies, to abate, to overcome those forces of crime, of poverty, of transportation challenges, and safety. Back when I first started studying education in the 1960s, George Bester said, schools are being asked to do things that schools are not prepared to address. And I think we've done the yeoman's job of addressing things like clothing and food insecurity and transportation problems, bent over backwards. I'm not sure that sending kids to schools with Brandywine's emblem on it is going to overcome those forces, as they should. I think we all need to get together. And if I were a parent whose children were going to a school where they weren't performing, I would be impatient as well. But I think they've rushed into this without looking at the right sources of the problem. So with all due respect, rather than abstain or say no, I would propose to not kick the can down the road again, but to forestall another selection until they have some hard research.
Ms. Stock, do you have anything to add? No. I'll share my my thoughts slightly different.
If you want to go last, I wanted to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
So I want to change my position. I think Dr. Lawson is our representative for our district, for our board, for our community. And I don't want to put her in a position to, I guess, in gathering information on where the board stands. For my position, I don't want it to be a either no or an abstention. So I want to change my recommendation that she abstain from the vote. Just kind of getting some clarity on the differences in the two. And, you know, Robert's rules kind of identifies an abstention not as either a yes or a no, and it's generally used to signal a conflict of interest or lack of information. And I think in this case, certainly the lack of information is supported. You know, you could even say there's a conflict of interest in the sense that I don't think that the Reading Consortium 25-member voting member panel is the right mix to make this decision. You've got legislators on the consortium who crafted the legislation to create the consortium. You have an abundance of members who speak in support of public schools but have sent their own children to private and charter. You have VOTEC representation who has no skin in the game, Colonial who has no skin in the game. Christina has a vote with their superintendent, but I would say there's no real skin in the game there because I think they've resigned to the idea that they're not going to be serving students in the city. So I would recommend abstaining from the vote under those pretenses. And the lack of information, obviously, you know, no evidence that, you know, how these changes will improve the outcomes of students, and certainly the financial lack of information and the capacity of the options presented. So, thank you.
Mr. Jordan.
The only thing I would just add, I I think the abstention for lack of information is the right way to go. I'm just not convinced or on board with a conflict of interest argument in the sense that, you know, the board's makeup was put in place by statute, which I think makes it a little bit more difficult, like I said, for me to get on board with that, which doesn't mean that, you know, had there not been the statute passed, that there would be conflicts, but I could support a motion to abstain for lack of information. Thanks.
So I have a slightly different train of thought, maybe. So I always say to people, right, like in a regular election, like if you don't vote, you don't really have a right to complain about the result down the road. And I think it's clear that a model is moving forward tomorrow night. And I wonder if us not having a say in which one, I agree with everything that everybody said. I think with the information available to us now, none of these options are going to improve anything for even a single person. But that said, a model's moving forward tomorrow. I'm pretty confident, no matter what. So, I mean, part of me thinks that the best option is to choose the model that either we most support or the one that we want to see good data on, which is what we've been promised, that whatever model moves forward, we're going to get data on. So, you know, that's my thought. Shouldn't we choose a model that we want to see the data on so that then we can make an educated decision down the road about whether we think that that's a really viable model, or if we then want to bring our concerns once there's data to the legislators. So that's my thought. I feel like, I don't want to call it a wasted vote, but I feel like we have a seat at the table, and by not voting, I'm not sure the message that it sends, and does it create a risk, what if it's a closed vote, that a model moves forward that we would not like, versus us having a say in the model that does move forward, at least to see data. Not that we're endorsing the model, but choosing a model that we would like to see more data on to determine its viability with facts. And if that was the choice, obviously my preference would be the Brandywine Red Clay model, where we remain independent and then absorb the city in some way.
I would ask you to maybe get an opinion from legal counsel, board counsel on, you know, I think if we vote yes for any plan, it's kind of hard to object to it later, I think. Any plan that develops any new data that's presented, we would have an option to support down the road. But I think the information that's presented to us today, the social drivers report, the air, the financial report, the lack of funding information, the transportation information, the logistical information, all the questions that come along with it, I don't see how we could support any of the plans. They all appear to be adverse to students in the Brandywine School District.
And I think that I guess it depends on the way that the vote is worded, or whoever makes the motion. So my perception, based on what was said on our December 8th meeting, was that really this isn't a vote to support a plan, it's the vote to move a plan forward so that they can gather data. So I guess it depends on the way that the motion, I mean, obviously if the motion is worded to, you know, which plan are we gonna?
I think that speaks to the consortium strategy all along. When they started with, you know, a dozen plans, they didn't vote to move forward the best plans, they kept voting to eliminate. And I think that was strategic, and they've been positioning, including at our meeting last week, that there are 3 plans on the table. There's really 5 plans. You have the Newcastle County plan, the Metro plan, and then 3 Brandywine Red Clay plans. So I think that's an interesting wording. I think it's intentional because I think you're dealing with seasoned people that understand politics, and I think it's more than 3 plans. So I have an idea in my head how I think the vote will go tomorrow. So yeah.
Any other discussion?
Maybe somebody on the board can answer this question because I don't know the answer. If Dr. Lawson were to abstain and there were multiple rounds of voting, would she then have disqualified herself from rounds 2, 3, and 4, right? So if there's 25 people or 25 voting members and no plan gets a majority, Dr. Lawson has abstained, it goes to round 2. Is she now forbidden from voting in round 2, or can she vote having abstained in the first round?
If it's a separate motion, yeah, then she could vote. She'd just be abstaining from the single vote, if that was the case.
I guess that raises the second question. If it does, as you mentioned, President Heller, if it does get to a point where Dr. Lawson's vote is decisive, then what? You know, if it's tied 12-12.
The consortium is obviously not interested in what boards have to say because there are no board members on the consortium, whereas there were on WEIC. There was a board member from every district. I served in lieu of John's father at the time because he was ill. But, you know, the people who were elected to take care of the school districts, Red Clay, Brandywine, Christina, and Colonial, they were not included, and that was quite intentional. NGOs and representatives who have agendas, who don't send their kids to public schools, they're the ones who are making this decision. From a, you know, if you say what would be, you know, the plan that you could support, well, I would say the least disruptive plan is the Brandywine Red Clay third option. That would probably be one that would actually work without tipping the boat here in Brandywine, and it would fill up a couple of Red Clay schools that are currently pretty empty. So I don't know if that's the right choice, but I think that is a choice. But I think that's maybe what they're aiming for all along anyway. So we'll just have to wait to see.
And I think to Mr. Ackerman's point, you know, there's a number of state legislators on the Reading Consortium who are going to get another chance to vote on this when it comes before the General Assembly. So to me, I think there's a conflict there.
Yeah, I mean, that is an issue for me as well. I will say I was very happy at the board workshop to see so many other elected politicians who were there in person and who were there by Zoom to see what the community really thinks about this. And even to hear, I think Representative Heffernan made some comments and they were welcome. But yeah, I do see the issue with having members of the consortium who will also have that what I see as the decisive votes at the General Assembly, for sure.
So I just wanted to double check something here. They're going to be voting for this tomorrow, and then there's a plan that's actually going to be created. And then does the whole consortium vote on that plan as well? So this is it, and this is the only voice. How does said plan then get crafted?
Then the State Board of Education votes next, and then the General Assembly, once the plan is created.
But there has to be some actual plan, like person moves here, individual goes there, this entity takes possession of this building. How does that plan get crafted and created?
So I heard the same as you did, that Representative Matt Den said that the plan would be created after one of these models moves forward. My question to the board is, if I support option 3, is that essentially saying that the board is supportive of any of the sub-options under 3, since there really wasn't any discussion about how then the 3 options under 3 would be talked about and or
I mean, I think it goes even further than that. I mean, if there's a plan out there which gives so much money to this program that, all the kids have gold-plated Chromebooks, then, then we'll have one opinion about that plan. If it's so scattershot and not well done and logistically incapable, then we're going to have a different view on that. I guess my question is will you, as a member of the Reading Consortium, ever get a chance after tomorrow to vote on an actual detailed plan?
No, sir.
So how does that actual detailed plan get created?
So I think that part's not clear. Will the consortium put together a subcommittee, and then will that plan come back before the full Reading Consortium, or will the subcommittee put that through to the DOE?
I guess my assumption was that we would continue to meet and we would see what's put together, but it would go right to the state board. But again, that's assumption. It hasn't been said exactly.
Another issue. And perhaps they have explained it, but perhaps it has not been explained to us satisfactorily so that the people at these tables could understand it.
But that's where I also think that the wording of the 3 plans versus the 5 plans being that the Red Clay Brandywine plan has 3 sub-options, I don't foresee them picking one of the 5. I see that if it comes down to Red Clay Brandywine, then that's where they're going to take that and try to develop from there. And it's unclear as to how that will come about between the 3 Brandywine Red Clay plans. That's why I don't think that we should support that option.
So I'll say my original intention was that we would vote to give Dr. Lawson direction, but now I'm thinking there's so many, who knows how it's going to happen in the moment, and there's so many variables. Like is the feedback you heard tonight, like I don't know how we could give specific direction, having no idea what's going to happen tomorrow night. So, I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks. I feel comfortable that hopefully she's heard enough information that she's just going to have to make a game time decision based on the situation that's happening. I don't know how we could give specific direction, actually. It depends how the motion's phrased. It depends if they're voting on 3 or 5. It depends on if the intent is to just choose the option we want to see more data on, or if we are choosing to support the option that would be. I think there's so many variables of how it could happen that.
I would support that position, Mr. Heller.
So my last question is whether the board supports all 3 sub-options under option 3.
No.
I do not.
No, I don't either.
I do not either.
I do not either.
And that's where my concern lies, that if we even supported one of the 3 sub-options, if a plan develops that is adverse to our schools, our students, our outcomes, our taxpayers, I think it limits our options down the road if we've already voted yes on an initial plan.
If I could just add a point, we sit here at the behest of our citizens, and 2 of those sub-plans eliminate their voices. So I would not favor anything that would put aside this board or the Red Clay board and create a whole new board. I think we have to stay intact out of respect for our citizens.
Any other, do you think that's enough to go in and make a decision in the moment? Okay, thank you. Anything else from anybody?
I guess I will just add thank you to Dr. Lawson and, certainly to previous Superintendent Linkholer that, kind of started with this, and Dr. Lawson has, picked up and been an advocate for students in the Brandywine School District. And, I think she is in a tough position on this consortium. I think throughout the process, you've been a staunch defender of the Brandywine School District and our students and our methods. And I think a lot of the rhetoric that has gone on around Reading, you know, the schools have, I think, public schools have taken a beating on how we serve students. Can we do better? Yes. Are we trying to do better? All the time. But there, you know, going back to the social drivers report, there are things that are out of our control that a lot of this money could be spent on. And I'm proud of the work this district does. I'm proud that we're working to do better. But I don't think changing the lines does that. And I think, you know, throughout the voting options, the votes that you've made to, you know, keep the process open, keep additional options on the table, you know, whether that be with other school districts staying in the mix, voting to just making votes that, you know, show your dedication to our district. So thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to Mr. McCoy for the November monthly financial report.
Vice President Scrobot, Superintendent Dr. Lawson, board members, and audience members. I'll try to be quick tonight. There's not really anything of major concern, so we'll just kind of breeze through it. The only thing I have is the November 30th, 2025 monthly financial report. First, I wanted to start with a quick note on the final budget process. I believe our preliminary budget outlines a timeline that said the final budget would be provided either December or January, and we are on track for January. The county has started sending us some updated tax listings as well as some updated appeals listings. And in January, we should receive a list of the quarterly ads where they add things that have come up throughout the district since the previous ad. So they did warn us that the January quarterly ad will be probably a material amount because it does include October and January. So the October quarterly ad was missed because of the ongoing legal suit that they were facing. So turning our attention to the November report on page 1, we have received 38.7% of our local funds compared to 95.9% at this time last year. And again, I mentioned it last month that the lower percentage is directly related to the delayed tax payment deadline. Collections coming to us in December, so this month, are only $2.5 million. So you'll see this continued throughout next month's monthly financial report. In the state funds section, we have received a higher percentage than this period last year. Unfortunately, most of these categories in this section are driven by the number of units that a district has earned. Our budget was built expecting an increase in the number of units that we would earn. However, our unit count has decreased by 12 compared to last year. So when I put the final budget together, these numbers will need to come down, and they'll likely be a lower budgeted amount than we had last year. So there's no other items on page 1 that I have noted as needed to be being called out. If there's any questions on this page, happy to take them. All right. On page 2, the only item I wanted to point out is the debt service section. So there's a portion of our tax rate that is tied to generating funds to pay back our debt service for capital projects of years past. Because of the delayed tax receipts, our debt service tax receipts are also below where they should be. Luckily, you can see in the June 30th balance line that's up there, we have a healthy balance from years past. So we can just dip into our balance to pay the amounts that we have not collected. So we've paid $2 million and we've only collected $1.5 million. Yes.
I know we had discussed in the Finance Committee about, and you've mentioned this before in prior meetings. So given that the tax receipts were delayed, the state has essentially given districts an interest-free loan.
Yes.
How come we dip into our June 30 balance versus using the state money for debt service payments?
So that's a great question. The state pulls the payments directly out of our debt service funds. I don't know if we can tie the debt service payments to the new appropriations that the state set up. The school districts are required to hold a certain balance in their debt service in the event not something like this happens, because this is unprecedented, but so that you can make future payments in the event something happens that your tax collections do not cover your bond payments.
Okay.
And the state is very stringent on everything debt related because they value their bond rating very, very much.
Right, and I know there was a lot of, just for the benefit of the board, there was a lot of questions just to how that process works with the state, and like everything else the state does, it's a convoluted process. A lot of that's kind of just how they do it type of answers. But the committee did ask Mr. McCoy to kind of think about, just from a transparency standpoint, some way to address or footnote on our report how much was advanced from the state, how it was paid back. So we've given him some time to just kind of think on what his recommendation on a best way to do that would be.
So I have nothing else noted on this page. Again, if there's any questions, I'll just keep breezing through it. Moving on to page 3, to the expenditure side of things. There's no operating units on page 3 that give me any cause for concern. In the salary portion, our percent spent of 41.74% is in line with the prior year. And the bottom of the page shows that we've spent 42.66% of the budget as compared to 45.85% for the same period last year. All of the big ticket items that I've mentioned in previous meetings, curriculum, facilities, they're all now in line with where they were at this time last year. So it just it took a while for things to catch up, and facilities, some of the expenses were moved to the enhanced minor cap line. So everything's looking very good on this page. On page 4, there is one item that we need to talk about, line 32, the summer school. So that stands out because it is unfortunately over budget at this time. I spoke about this last month, where we had some salary charges that were higher than we anticipated. I have also learned that there was some state funding that was provided in years past that at the last minute before our summer programs ran last year, we learned we weren't getting that state funding, and I believe that was to the tune of $200,000, if I'm remembering correctly. So that one definitely hurt us. So in my final budget, you'll see that I had to move funds to this budget account to make up for the over expenditure, and I would like to think that I can do that by kind of moving the funds from other budget lines where we foresee an under budget for the year.
Mr. McCoy,
Yes.
Is there any reason to think that the state will put back some of the summer school funds that disappeared last year?
Mr. Lavoy, that was a literacy grant. It was a one-time grant. I didn't know that until I called the following year because of the literacy focus, I'll say, that the department had. We took advantage. The first year it was $200,000. We started a wonderful K-2 literacy program to try to prevent that reading failure later. We thought it very important to continue that program again the following year, which was this past summer, and then learned late that the grant would not be provided. So we are going to make some adjustments. We can't discontinue the program. It's very important. We're going to try to consolidate a couple of other programs and try to blend some together. But I also think that there were groups of students who had committed to coming to summer school and then didn't show up, and we had very small class sizes planned. So we can look at that statistically over time and try to make the class sizes a little bigger, knowing that some, even though they commit, don't come. We still would like to have smaller class sizes, but we're working it this year so that hopefully we will stay within budget and still be able to provide the wonderful summer programming. That group of K-2 students, they came every day. There were other students that weren't showing up. So,
is there any reason to believe that the new secretary, Martin, who has made literacy one of her hallmarks, will be more sensitive and be able to provide some more money?
I certainly hope so, and if so, we will be the first to put in for any grants that come our way.
So I have no other items of note on this page. Federal funds, we have not spent any of those funds yet, as we're still spending out last year's funds. And then we can move on to page 5. So this is the breakdown of the individual school buildings and how their budget compares to what they've actually spent. And we have spent 38.07% of the budget compared to 44.44% for the same period last year. So things are, knock on wood, looking very good so far for the buildings. Page 6 is the prior year expenditure report. We continue to spend down, moving from 7.5 million encumbered last month to 6.9 million encumbered this month. So that's something we continue to work on and make sure that our encumbered funds are encumbered for a purpose and not outdated purchase orders. Moving on to the cash flow statement. So this has been very interesting given the fact that our cash flows are very delayed due to the tax payments. You can see in the November middle section, the monthly revenue is actually negative. So the charter payment that we made, we have to make 2 charter payments. This was the preload payment where they take a certain percentage. The charter payment was higher than all of the revenues that we received in our local funds for the month of November. Luckily, we have the state funding available to us, our state loan that was mentioned earlier. So we put the charter payment, we made it out of the state loan instead of with our funds. So we do still have funds, but when we have to backfill, everything will be in one picture. So right now we have a negative for November. Now what that means is that sometime in December, if we didn't have the state loan, we would run out of funds. However, we have the state loan, so we are good to go. We're trying to use the state funds as much as we can so that we preserve our cash balances. However, this is a picture of our cash and it doesn't factor in the state cash, so it shows negatives. One thing worth noting is, actually a major thing worth noting is that the ending balance in this has increased to 8.9, I believe that says, a little tiny. And last month it had gotten down to, I believe, 8.4. And the reason for that is the growth that we've seen throughout the district and the numbers that we anticipate to receive from the county for the January quarterly ads. Yes.
Sorry about that. With the time value of money and our getting tax revenue in late and being able to collect interest off of the funds, what does the delay, how much do we think we will have lost in making money via interest throughout the whole year? Do you think that we can actually calculate that now, or do you think it's still up in the air?
So I've done a rough calculation just for budgeting purposes, and we did have budgeted 1.9 million in interest income, and I've fully anticipated that we would beat that pretty easily, but I will likely have to adjust it down to 1.3, 1.4 million. So we're definitely going to take a hit because our payments were delayed and we're not earning interest on large chunks of money.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McCoy. We had to wait for tax revenues to come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our payments to the charter schools went out right away. They didn't have to wait. They were not inconvenienced at all.
We had some deadlines that we had to meet to have those payments out by.
Yeah.
But the state did allow us to use the state loan to make those payments. So our cash stayed in our bank account and the state money went to the charter school until we refill that state money with our money.
Thank you.
Yep. This was approved at the November 30th, 2025 District Finance Committee meeting, and it is up for your approval.
If there's no other questions, motion to approve the November 30th, 2025 financial report, of course, subject to audit.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Mr. Skrobot, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. That brings us to our next meeting date, which will be all the way in 2026 on January 12th. And then we have a board workshop scheduled for February 2nd. The January meeting will be at Concord High School, our first visit there. And with that, very happy holidays and happy New Year to everybody. Is there a motion to adjourn?
But before we do that, real quick, for parents of students in 5th and 8th grade, choice applications are due January 14th. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone listening. We have maybe a couple of parents in the audience, but I don't want to wait until our next board meeting and give people 2 days' notice.
Very good point. Choice applications due January 14th.
Thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Have a great night, everybody. Happy holidays.